You probably know the feeling, sweaty, fast breathing, quick heart rate. That's a cortisol spike. It feels awful, and its imbalance is the cause of your anxiety. Rebalance Health's 3-part anxiety system helps address it at the root. Rebalance Health lozenges are natural and designed for optimal absorption, providing 24-hour relief. Live life fully without feeling like you're fighting for it. Get 50% off your first month with code CALM23 at rebalancehealth.com.
My brother-in-law died suddenly, and now my sister and her kids have to sell their home. That's why I told my husband we could not put off getting life insurance any longer. An agent offered us a 10-year, $500,000 policy for nearly $50 a month. Then we called SelectQuote. SelectQuote found us identical coverage for only $19 a month, a savings of $369 a year.
Whether you need a $500,000 policy or a $5 million policy, SelectQuote could save you more than 50% on term life insurance.
For your free quote, go to SelectQuote.com. SelectQuote.com. That's SelectQuote.com.
SelectQuote. We shop. You save. Full details on example policies at SelectQuote.com/commercials.
Welcome to Pretty Lies and Alibis. Join us as we seek the truth and travel the long road to justice. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Pretty Lies and Alibis. I'm Gigi. What you know, Froot Loop?
That our Instagram posts are driving me crazy. It's like, even right now, like I have my notes on my phone and I have to go swipe. It's awesome that all these people are reaching out, though.
Yeah, I had to turn alerts off my phone between Twitter and Instagram and even Facebook. We still read everything, but my battery was draining within an hour or two of me being up.
Oh yeah.
We love it though. We've grown so much in the last few weeks, really. It's kind of been a little burst, and we're just really happy that we have people who want to engage with us, because our listeners are engaging with us all day, and it's great.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Leanne Fry, I don't know who you are, but she just started following us on Instagram. So
hey, Leanne.
Good job, Leanne.
So we want to give a shout out, speaking of shout outs, to Carrie for the very generous PayPal donation she sent last night. And she said she noticed we had some new equipment and she wanted to help. And we do appreciate it because we pay for this out of our pocket.
Yep.
And
Thank you
it
very
does
much.
help. I have 3 kids and there are 2 teenagers. Do the math.
Yeah.
So we want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Two Cool T-shirt Quilts. If you look behind me, you can see our logo that she made for us on our pillows. There's a Clemson Tiger one there. And so if you want to check out Two Cool T-shirt Quilts, it's www.twocooltshirtquilts.com/prettyliesandalibis. And I know we did our link tree, which is a place where it's all of our links in one spot, and we can see how many people are going to her website, and you guys are checking her out. So we appreciate it because she is the first sponsor, the first person that ever came to us and said, I want to invest in your podcast. And man, it's helped us offset the cost of doing this. And just the fact that somebody had faith in us really still to this day means a lot. And she's still with us. So we just love Andrea and we appreciate it. So,
I'm not sure about that Clemson pillow, though, Andrea.
You hush up over there. We're just getting a little fight right here for our listeners. So, okay, I've been in this computer chair for hours for the last week. Well, earlier today, I was going through the Murdaugh stuff, trying to get ready for this bond hearing, and I had this pain in my leg. And it was, it almost feels like a voodoo doll. I always say somebody has a voodoo doll out there with my name, and every now and then they poke it because I'll just get these random pains that come out of nowhere. I'm like,
That's called being 44 soon.
I'll be 44 next week. Hey, don't age me yet.
No, you're close enough. You can go ahead and say 44.
Just hush. You're older than me. Yeah, old woman. I was convinced I had a blood clot in my leg from sitting too long today. I was literally Googling symptoms of a blood clot.
I'm gonna tell you, I'm at right now. When I stand up, I gotta wait a minute.
You're not kidding. I need to wait a minute before I stand up because I'm gonna tell you, Sherlock not once but twice today has tripped me. The last time was right before we went on, and so I kind of went down on one hand. He just wraps himself around my feet and tries to attack me. He's going through his little rebellious teenage years. He's going to be a year here, October 1st. I guess maybe in cat years that figures out to teenager. And so I go down and catch myself, and he gets his little paw, and he's like, bah, 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 on my head.
Yeah, Sherlock can be he can be aggressive. Yeah, he used to when we were there doing the podcast, he would jump. I wore boots all the time.
Yeah, you had to wear
I
your
wore
boots.
my boots because he would scratch my leg.
Yeah, I told him to do that, but
Yeah.
Good kitty. So
Cat.
tell everybody about this email we got today.
Oh yeah, so we get an email addressed to Lori and Chad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get the alert. I open up the Gmail and it says, "Hello, Lori and Chad," and I was like, "Okay,
yeah, you send it to the wrong place."
Yep, at the wrong time.
Exactly.
All right, we're going to jump in. We have a lot to discuss today, so why don't you go ahead and tell us about Lori Vallow quickly? What's going on with her?
So she had a hearing yesterday, and it was continued today. It's not a public hearing, but we know there were some filings, a motion in order for the state to have a meeting with the Idaho Department of Health staff who are treating her mental health, so they can be interviewed to help the prosecution decide if they need an order to force her to take medication.
Ooh. So is she? This is a big deal because if I understand correctly, if she refuses, they can just boot her back down to jail.
Okay, so my question is this: in order to just my thought, normally to get somebody to take medication, you have to deem them unfit to make decisions, whatever that's called, unfit to make decisions for themselves, and somebody is appointed. I know that's happened in my family, so that's what had to take place in order to get somebody to take. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I do.
So I wonder if that's part of the whole process.
It could. I don't know. I do know that they have sent a subpoena to the Deputy Attorney General. Her name is Amy Long. I don't know if maybe she represents the Department of Health and Welfare and stuff like this, because I can't really think of why they would get the Attorney General involved. But I think the big thing, too, is they're wanting to get Dr. Lander's initial report on her so that they can use that, I guess, to better formulate a treatment plan. And I think this was requested a while ago. I wonder why they haven't gotten it. But, I mean, she can't have her cake and eat it too. She can't say that she's incompetent and can't make decisions and then kind of do this and say, like a 3-year-old that doesn't want to take their Tylenol.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems
I
like
don't know either.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, I'll have to look, but I'm pretty sure that I read if she refuses, then that could be a one-way ticket back to the pokey. And then she's going to have her first appearance and then her arraignment, and then we're going to roll.
Yeah.
So
I don't think you can refuse it either.
No, I don't know how it goes. I mean, are they going to hold her down? I mean, I guess it's just going to be where they tell her attorneys, if she doesn't take it, we're going to send her back because she is choosing not to take medicine. If you're incompetent, I mean, you're saying that you can't make decisions about your defense. It would tell me that she don't want to be competent. I think that's the thing.
Yeah.
She don't want anything to work because here's the thing. There's a chance she really has had a mental break. I mean, it's unfair to say that this is all faking, even though we have our own opinions. She's worked this system before. We saw it in Chandler with the 5150 hold where she was supposed to have been evaluated and she kind of talked her way out of that. So I don't know what to believe with her, but she can't have it both ways. Either she's incompetent and needs help, but at the same time, if she don't want to be competent, that may be why we're here.
Yeah. I mean, she's going to have to face it eventually.
Right. I mean, even Elizabeth Smart's kidnappers, I was reading Lori Hellis's newsletter, and this was a great example. It took years for them to be deemed competent, but they were. It was maybe 8 years later. Let's knock on wood, we're not heading down that road. But even in the most extreme cases, he was a religious nut too. I mean, I think he thought he was Jesus or something. I mean, so
she still has to. I mean, with JJ and Tylee and Charles and Tammy, she has to. They got to pay for what they did.
Right.
I mean, it's not fair. I mean, those are lives taken too soon. Right, it's not fair for her to get to sit and not get help and not stand trial for what she
We
did.
need to send Nurse Ratchet up in there. For those of you that have seen One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest or Ratchet on Netflix, you know what I'm talking about. She would get that medicine in her.
Hey, send my mama up there.
Yeah, oh, we get Priscilla.
My mama would get that medicine in her.
Shoot, she convinced me to,
Mhm.
probably like eat rat poison. She's a very persuasive woman.
Yep. Straight
So
up. My mama would tell her she could get up and take a shower. She would feel better.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. As a
Okay,
kid,
so real
that's
quick
what.
on Billy.
Yeah.
What's that?
Go ahead. No, go
Oh.
ahead.
Sorry. So real quick, Billy Wagner, one of the 4 Wagners accused of killing the Roden family of 8. He had a brief hearing today. There's been some chatter that maybe he was going to plead guilty like Jake and Angela. I didn't hear anything today that would indicate he's headed down that road. It was a lot of language back and forth about how Jake's plea deal is written. So the prosecution, their stance is the plea deal is of taking death off the table would only be valid if Jake holds up his end of the responsibility and testifies truthfully at these trials. And the defense is saying, whoa, we can't go in there and have death on the table and then take it off, or have it off the table and then you guys want it back if Jake doesn't hold up his end of the bargain. I mean, it kind of makes sense, to be honest. Either it's death or not. So that was what that was about. They're scheduling another hearing, I believe, maybe November. I'll have to go back and look. But this stuff, I mean, these deaths happened in 2016.
Yeah.
They've been in jail since 2018. So those of you that say this Vallow Daybell stuff's taking forever, look at Jodi Arias, look at the WAC, they've been in jail 4 years before it goes to trial. We will get there. It's the long road to justice. We need to put that on a shirt.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we can do that.
Well, let's talk about the Murdaugh mess.
So Curtis Smith posted bond in Hampton County today. He had a $50,000 bond for his role in the shooting of Alec Murdaugh. He was a hot mess, and at one point said this was all crap. He growled too, if I remember right.
He did growl.
There was one video. Yeah, he growled. I was like, whoa.
Oh, man. He not a happy camper.
Yep.
Somebody said, how did he bond out? I said, he probably has a lot of money tucked back.
Yeah.
Courtesy of Alec Murdaugh.
Exactly.
But
Alec, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I'm not a doctor. He really looked like he may have been detoxing from something. He was constantly fidgety, moving, seemed very agitated at times. So, I mean, he doesn't get the cushy little rehab like Alec does. He had to detox into pokey.
Yeah.
That's tough.
Yeah. So Alec turned himself in today and was charged with insurance fraud, conspiracy to commit insurance fraud, and filing a false police report. He bonded out on a $20,000 personal recognizance bond. He was going to an out-of-state rehab, and if he leaves there will be a warrant for his arrest. He turned in his passport.
Yeah, and the Attorney General's office, they really wanted a much higher bond. They said he was a danger to the community, and they asked for a $100,000 bond and an ankle monitor. And his lawyers pretty much said today that he is in financial dire straits because all of his properties now have liens against them. And I posted today on our social media the documents that were filed yesterday in the Gloria Satterfield case, where the sons they're suing Alec for money they never received from this wrongful death suit. I haven't had a chance to go over it really with a fine-tooth comb, but one interesting thing that I did see is apparently the wrongful death suit was suggested by Alec himself. In other words, he said, you guys need to sue me to get money for your mom. And we said yesterday on the episode that the lawyer, I believe, was his college roommate. They never saw the money. And like I said last night, I'm really curious to see if these funds went back to him.
That's really weird.
It is weird. I would never tell anybody, you should sue me.
Yeah. Like if you're wanting to help a family out and you have the means, like give them the money.
Exactly. Because at that time when she died, he definitely didn't have a short of funds.
Yeah.
Things like that tell me a lot about a person. How you treat people that are close to you. And when you have a housekeeper who's homeless and she has a special needs kid, Why are you not paying her a wage where she can live? Anyways, I could go off on a tangent. I won't.
Yep.
So no wound on his head that I saw either. I'm not trying to minimize this.
No, I didn't see one either.
Because his lawyer stood up in court and said he was shot in the back of the head, if I heard correctly. But so my first real job, I was a surgical technologist. It's been a long time. It's been a hot minute, but I worked in the emergency room and then I went to the OR and then labor and delivery. I kind of did all three of those. And anytime we had a head wound of any kind that was penetrating, they would shave the head so that they could look around the wound as well. Now, we did have a listener tweet us, and maybe things have changed in the 20-something years since I did that. And she said they don't always shave the head. But I think if you've got a skull fracture and a entry wound, exit wound, and a brain bleed, I'm not saying it didn't happen, because why would his lawyer say it in front of a judge? I just think it's weird.
Yeah. Yep.
Everything's weird.
I totally agree. Most definitely.
So let's go into Gabby Petito.
This is the big one.
This is the big one. So this is one thing that one of our listeners, Carla, I'm going to give her a shout out because she had some good eyes and ears. She said she caught on the video that Brian said he did not have a cell phone. He didn't own one. But then he pulls out his phone at the end when they're taking him to a hotel, and Gabby reminds him through the officer to get his charger. So he says he didn't have a phone and now he has a phone, because Gabby had her phone. She was talking to her parents a little bit through that body cam footage. So I spent hours doing this today. I really just tried to listen, stop, make these notes, because I know a lot of people don't want to watch an hour and 17 minutes.
Well, on the police report too, it says they both had cell phones and they were able to contact each other or had it in case of emergencies.
I just wonder why he very matter-of-factly said, I don't have a cell phone.
Yeah. It may not have said so they could contact each other. It just said they had them in case it was an emergency, they both had cell phones.
Gotcha. So, all right. Well, we'll get into this press conference real quick and then we'll jump into the body cam stuff.
Yeah. So nothing much new for us following closely. No criminality. What is that word?
Criminality.
I've never seen that word in my life.
Now you have. Welcome to English class.
I know, right?
I'll teach you.
It's suspected at this time, and it's being investigated as a missing persons case.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm not surprised with that, because you have to think about this. They have to get subpoenas for Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter, Instagram, any other site they were on. They have to get cell phone records. And then when they get that stuff, especially your cell phone records, it's not black and white. They have to analyze that. They have to have people who are specialized in that to pull up maps and get longitude and latitudes. So I understand that maybe, not even quite a week in since she's been reported missing, that they don't have any evidence a crime took place, but it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see what they're thinking.
Yeah, exactly. It takes time to get records from subpoenas too. And like you said, that we saw in the Vallow case.
Yeah.
It took them to analyze all that stuff.
But if you think about it, that's what drove home and found those kids. So patience with that kind of stuff where you might not have a ton of evidence otherwise, we saw in the Vallow case, well, it led them right to JJ and Tylee. And it also put Alex here when Tammy died. So, if the car has it, they're going to have a really good idea of where he was.
Yeah. And the thing is, I understand why they're wanting it, because they're in a race against time.
Yeah.
The longer it goes where they don't find her, they're in a race for time. They want to, and her dad, dude, I'll be afraid of her dad. He ain't playing. He come on that press conference today. Joe, I think's his name.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't mess with him.
Nope. I'm surprised he hadn't went and picked Brian up and spun him around a few times.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was thinking.
But you can just see the love that he has for his daughter, as any parent does. And I have thought about this girl. Last night I was trying to just unplug and watch my art restoration to kind of chill out and get rested. And all I could do was think about this poor girl. This
Oh,
case is
you
really
and
kind of. Why are you laughing?
I'm laughing at your art restoration.
It is very relaxing.
Yeah, your daughter had me watch it one time. I fell asleep in
Yeah, it's
like
great. You
5
always fall
minutes.
asleep watching TV. When you fell
I
asleep
can't
watching
help it.
Rocky Horror Picture Show and you kept waking up at the most odd parts, you would
That
wake
was
up
the
and you
worst thing I've
say,
ever seen in my
"What
life.
in the world are y'all watching?" And then you go right back.
Scarred me.
Love Rocky Horror.
Yeah. Okay, so he said they were trying to narrow down the geographical areas. There's no grid search by law enforcement right now. Investigators are following up on tips. So that tells you they really don't have a lot of information on where she is. I
I
know
know.
when in Hawaii when that girl went missing, the grid search that they did there was tremendous. The people who organized that thing were awesome because
Yeah.
I kept track of it every day.
I
But
do think
this
there are independent people now up there looking, but it's kind of like a needle in a haystack right now.
the vast openness and undeveloped land all through those areas is
Mhm.
crazy.
Yeah, it's going to be
Um,
hard to find her if there's no kind of digital trail. It could be a case where she may never be found. But
Yeah.
let's hope that they have something that would tie him into it because it's suspicious he still, as of today, has
Yeah.
not made himself available. And every day, law enforcement, lawyers, parents are pleading with him and his parents.
Yeah. I'm praying that she just walks up somewhere
Oh, me too. I
and
would love that. That would just
yeah.
make my day because
Yeah.
she's just a cute little girl. But I'm going to ask you this. We watched their videos, their travel videos that we could find. Did you kind of get the feeling I did that maybe Gabby was a lot more into this lifestyle and this kind of travel blog in the van thing? He just didn't see, I don't know, sometimes it seemed forced with him. Maybe he's just that way on camera. But I just didn't feel like they had the same enthusiasm for it.
Yeah. Yeah. It was different. And I'm gonna be honest with you. I stayed in a camper for a couple months and it was a bigger camper. It was like 32 feet. So it's tight in that thing.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of room in there. So the majority of the time you're spent outside, and in those areas it's hot.
It's hot and then it's cold at night.
Yeah,
And
well, I think one time in the police footage, I think he said something about that was part of the argument was there was a lot of flies that day or something.
they were, yeah, he said the flies were irritating her.
Yeah,
But and then he said he was dirty. But when they opened the back of the van, that van was it was packed. It wasn't organized. And I think maybe from what I can gather is maybe she was having a moment because the van was, it just looked like things had been thrown in there. Who
yeah.
knows? But
And
still,
she said she had OCD, so if that's the case, I can understand how that would give you some
yeah, it's
anxiety.
a trigger and
Yeah.
then everything else becomes a trigger. But anyways, before we dive into this body cam footage, I don't know who this officer is that was telling the world, and he didn't intend to tell the world, his wife's mental conditions and her anxiety and how medication changed her life and she wasn't mean anymore. But I hope he has got a very comfy doghouse to stay in tonight because can you
Yeah.
imagine when he walked in the door after this went public today? Whew.
Yeah. Yeah, he ain't on the couch. He's outside. He's sleeping
Oh.
in the hammock. Yeah, he's
Oh, I
in the
was
hammock.
like, she's not going to be a happy wife.
Yeah.
All right. So, park rangers and cops both responded to this call. They kind of had the roads blocked off a bit. And I'm going to tell you, just by looking at Gabby and him, they were super stressed. And I'll tell you, with what we've done with this podcast, we've worked to get our channel monetized on social, like YouTube. It's not easy.
Yeah.
You have to have so many followers, so many watch hours. And even then, even if you get a video that has 5,000 likes or something, or all your videos have 4,000 likes, you may make $300 to $400 a month, if that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I didn't see any sponsorships on her Instagram or anything. You kind of wonder, did the newness wear off and maybe a little let down that they didn't it's like rocket to the top all of a sudden and go viral. Then you just have the stressors of the road. You're dirty, you're tired, you're hot, you're cold, money could be tight. And then you're squabbling with each other. To me, they both looked worn out today. And I'm not defending Brian, but I mean, they just both kind of, I don't know. He was a little peppy given what had just happened to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, people handle stress differently. I'm not going to analyze these two.
No.
So the other thing I want to say is I'm really, really curious to see if there were any texts, Snapchats, Instagram messages between Brian and Gabby after he left her for the last time and went back to Florida. I think that's going to tell a lot.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Very
I mean,
good
if you
point.
leave somebody in a fight, you get a few hours down the road, you calm down. Hey, are you okay? Just checking in on you or something. If there's nothing there, then that's suspicious.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And then too, you think of the other part of it. Are you doing it just to make it look like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, there's a lot of scenarios that have went through my head today.
Yep. So on the footage, before they pull the van over, the cop says on the radio that the driver may be intoxicated, because then he hits the curb and he's like, "Whoa!"
Yep.
And what we talked about, Gabby says she has OCD and she was trying to clean the back of the van and apologizing to Brian for being so mean. She says sometimes she gets frustrated. She says she quit her job as a nutritionist. She is traveling cross country, starting a blog, and was working on her website. She did say they had been fighting all morning. He wouldn't let her in the van until she calmed down. She says he really stresses me out, and this was a rough morning. The cop does put her in the back of his cruiser to chill out for a minute, and then he goes to talk to Brian.
Yeah. So Brian asks if they've spoken to Gabby, and the cop says yes. He gets out of the van, and you can see visible scratches on the right side of his face. And there's like a cluster of 3 or 4 scratches. And he says it's difficult. He says she's difficult to deal with. And he tries to distance himself from her when she gets like this. So he said what he did was locked the car and walked away from her. That morning she was working on her blog. He said they had a nice morning, but she got up and got worked up when she tried to get going with their day. And sometimes you get up, nothing's going right in your brain. It's stressful. I get that. So
Hey, I understand it. If you ever camped, when you get dirt inside your camper, it ends up in your bed, every which way. So,
well, we know that with the beach house.
oh yeah,
No,
sand gets everywhere. Yeah.
So she got worked up, and the officer asked about the scratches on his face, and he said he had her cell phone. She had her cell phone in her hand and tried to push her away and told her to breathe. And then she got him in the face with these scratches. And when asked about hitting the curb, he said she was grabbing the wheel. And she said, I can't believe we're getting pulled over.
Yeah. So they go back to talk to Gabby. Another cop is asking for her version of events. She says Brian grabbed her face and demonstrated that his hand would be on her lower jaw.
She kind of did this.
Yeah. The cop asked if he hit her, and she says he grabbed her jaw.
My brother-in-law died suddenly, and now my sister and her kids have to sell their home. That's why I told my husband we could not put off getting life insurance any longer. An agent offered us a 10-year, $500,000 policy for nearly $50 a month. Then we called SelectQuote. SelectQuote found us identical coverage for only $19 a month, a savings of $369 a year.
Whether you need a $500,000 policy or a $5 million policy, SelectQuote could save you more than 50% on term life insurance.
For your free quote, go to SelectQuote.com. SelectQuote.com. That's SelectQuote.com.
SelectQuote. We shop, you save. Full details on example policies at SelectQuote.com/commercials.
Okay, round 2. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Ah, sorry, we were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right, ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
The cop then asked if she was hitting him while he was driving, and she said not a lot. Then she said she was yelling at him, and when the cop turned his lights on, she hit him in the arm. She said Brian gets frustrated with her a lot. She says she has anxiety. Brian starts from the beginning saying the flies are intense here, and that was getting to her. He says they were at a coffee shop and he was barefoot and his feet were dirty. They get back to the van and he said there was some dirty stuff in the van. He said they had a disagreement and she was getting worked up, and he said it's okay. He said they were at the coffee shop from 9 to 3 and there were little disagreements.
Yeah, and he said they weren't physical before that point. So I said, let's just take a breather, walk away. I will lock the van up and I'll walk this way and you walk that way. And she had her rings in her hand and her phone. He kept the keys because he didn't want her going anywhere. He says he doesn't have a phone, so if she goes off without him, he's on his own. Now, maybe he meant he didn't have the phone like with him. Maybe it was in the car. So if she drives off, that's maybe how that got confused. I don't know.
Yeah.
It ain't my job to figure that out.
No.
And so he said she was trying to get the keys from him and he motions like he's pushing. He's kind of doing this. And he said he told her to back up. And he says he didn't get overly physical. He was just trying to keep her away, but he got really loud with her, which all this got the attention of the witnesses.
Yeah.
They asked about the scratches on the face. He said it came from her nails and her rings. And he says, I'm fine. I love Gabby. I hope she doesn't have any complaints about me. And when asked if he takes any medication, the audio is retracted there. And it seems like he's explaining something. And then the audio comes back on and the cop says, so you don't take any medication? And Brian says no.
So the cop asked if Brian is normally this hyper, and he says when the blue lights came on, his heart rate got up. I'm going to say, if you had a coffee shop from 9 to 3,
you're
probably hyper because you done dropped 25 million cups of coffee.
Sounds like my coffee shop.
I know, right? So I lost my spot. Okay, the cop asks if Gabby takes any medication, and he laughs and says, she's crazy. No, I don't think so. None that I know of. Brian says they've been on this trip for 4 to 5 months. They were in California before this big road trip. He mentions woofing, which is worldwide opportunities on organic farms where people work on farms in exchange for lodging and homestays. He said their goal was to get to Washington to do this. Another cop comes up and says that he has the report from the 2 witnesses and asks the cop with the body cam to come over so he can inform them of what they said. He then says that the witnesses said he never saw Brian hit Gabby. He saw Brian try to lock her out of the vehicle and told her to go take a walk. She couldn't get in and crawled through the driver's door trying to get to him. He tries to disengage from her. He says he thinks Brian hung her backpack on the back of the van so she would have her stuff and he wouldn't have to interact with her.
Well, I had a little theory about that. So she was really petrified that he might leave her, according to the witnesses. So I kind of wondered, did he hang that backpack on the back of that van to kind of make her think, here's your stuff? You never know.
Yeah.
But she seemed to be really upset about him leaving. And then in fact, at the very end of this, she says, I don't drive very often. So she was asking how far the place she's going was because she says she didn't drive very far. So
yeah, I think she didn't know how to get anywhere.
Yeah. Well, they're in, where are they? Moab?
Yeah, they're in Wyoming, right?
Yeah. Is it Moab?
Moab, yeah.
One of our listeners told us the correct pronunciation. Thank you.
Moab. I just let you mess up on that one.
Man, you just wait.
Hey, no, I messed up on that one word. Remember? I don't even remember what it was now, but
I don't either, but I think we laughed pretty hard about that.
Yeah.
Moni.
Yeah.
Okay. So he says everything Gabby is saying is what the witnesses are confirming. They never saw Brian hit her, but they did see him shove her. And they don't know if it was aggression or if he was defending himself. But the cop said to him, it sounds like she was the primary aggressor. He says the problem with her being the primary aggressor is in the instance of aggressive assault, they can arrest, but that doesn't necessarily mean go to jail. He said they can do a citation if it meets certain criteria, one of which being sure they won't risk each other's safety, But he says the problem with that is they live in a van together and Brian has injuries. So they're trying to figure out, how can we document the problem without having to go take her and fingerprint her and book her and put her in jail. I think they were really trying to keep her out of jail because Brian made clear he didn't want her in there either.
Yeah.
So anyways, the cop says he's getting conflicting stories about why the van hit the curb right before the traffic stop. And the body cam officer says Brian crossed the double yellow line at 42 miles an hour and merged over to the right lane and out of nowhere hit the curb. So according to Brian, she grabbed the wheel and turned it really hard. Gabby said she was hitting him in the arm. Now the cop says he's sure it was just kind of a little bit of both of that. And the truth's kind of in the middle.
Yeah, because she said she didn't grab the wheel.
Yeah. But I think later down, I'll have to look at our notes. I think she does admit grabbing the wheel. And so the other officer says they have to charge her, but to issue a citation if they agree to separate. And there's a no contact order. And if he wants to drop it, he would have to go to the jail first thing in the morning to sign the waiver, because at that point it was already after business hours. I think at this point, it was after 5 p.m. when I watched this part. And so he would have to wait till the next day. If he didn't make it by noon that next day, it would have been Monday. And this was on a Thursday, I believe.
Yep.
So I guess it's like half days there.
Yep. So they go back to Brian and tell him they will give him a warning for speeding. They say with his injuries and the witness statements, she was the primary aggressor. Gabby, Brian, and the witnesses didn't say he hit her. They call Brian the victim of a domestic assault. Brian laughs. The cop says, even if you don't want to pursue this, we don't have a choice. The law says we have to charge her. We don't have to take her to jail, so they can agree to separate and no contact order could be put in place. If Brian wanted to lift that, he could go to the police station and sign a waiver, but the office was already closed for the day. This was at 5:10. Brian asked if he can go to jail to separate and jokes he would take the cop's radio to get a charge.
Yeah, he was kind of asking if he could just go to jail, because I think at that point he said you got to separate, but it didn't seem like they had the money to find any kind of lodging.
Yeah. The cop says she will have a court date online in a couple of weeks for the charge, and the prosecutor could drop the charges. Brian said he needed a checklist of what to do to get rid of the charges. The cop says that she still has to attend the court hearing about this. He said the prosecutor may contact Brian to get his input, and they could drop it, pursue it, or let her plea. He says if she doesn't attend the online hearing for this, they could suspend her driver's license and issue a warrant for her arrest. If he doesn't drop the no contact order, it would be valid until midnight on the day of the court.
Yeah. So the cop says it sounds like you don't even want this no contact order, and Brian says he doesn't. He explains, like we just did, how he can remove it. And he says they don't want to put her in jail, but if she doesn't have somewhere to go that night, they would have to. And the body cam cop asked if they have money for a hotel. I didn't hear the answer, but
he said not really.
Okay.
And with her being the aggressor, she couldn't go to a shelter.
I have to let Sherlock in.
Oh, I hear you. So she couldn't go to a shelter. So that's why they called, I think it was called Safe Haven or something. And they paid for his hotel that night.
Yeah, they did ask if they would accept her, and they said because she was the aggressor, they could not.
Yeah.
So let's see here. Where were we? Okay. Where were we? I'm sorry.
Brian asked if she goes to jail, will she have a record?
Yeah, he was worried about that, or seemingly worried.
Yeah, and the cop says they would book her, but if it's dismissed, it would show that under the charges on her record. He says a citation will still show up on her record. This is a Class B, and that requires fingerprints. Mm-hmm. If the no contact order is broken, it would be upgraded to a Class A. The no contact order doesn't restrict Brian; it restricts Gabby.
Yeah, and they made that really clear.
Yeah.
I'm still lost in the note.
So it's
can you click it to where it blinks?
No, because I'm on my phone.
Oh, darn it.
So they try to figure out how to separate. He asks if she can take the van, and he confirms she has a driver's license. the cop says they can take Brian somewhere and they don't care if Gabby takes the van. And that's where we talked about, they explain if they take him to a place and he has to be back to sign the waiver for the no contact order, he would have to be back at the police station by noon the next day to do so, or it would be Monday before he could sign the waiver. And then that's where they seek that help from the safe haven. It's a family crisis thing.
Yeah, I looked the website up. They normally house women and children who are victims of domestic assault and sexual assault, but they don't take men. So they put the guys in a hotel.
So he tells the officer to see if they will take him since he is a victim of domestic assault. And he says they got a hotel for another male previously. The cop calls the center saying he just did a domestic and the male is the victim. He asks if they can assist. He turns to Brian and says they will take care of it. The cop says he really doesn't want to arrest her and have her booked. Brian says he appreciates that.
Yep. And Brian says he also has anxiety, so that's why he does the walk away and breathe thing.
So that's tough. You have two people in a small van that have anxiety. That's tough.
It could be a recipe for disaster. And back to Gabby, the cop says, you say he slapped you. And so he says, what I don't have is anyone saying he punched you. And I guess he meant any kind of strike to the face. And the cop said if the tables were turned and he slapped her and she pushed him, it would be defense. So he says, I can't discriminate based on gender. Obviously, it's, man, woman hits, it doesn't matter. It is what it is. So the body cam cop walks up, he walks away and he's on his phone. And it seems like they're trying to arrange that hotel. And he tells them, we're going to be here a while. So take your time trying to find somewhere. And the cop summarizes what happens between the two of them. He says that they were at Moonflower, which is an organic grocery store. And they got into an argument over what he calls petty stuff. And he says, Brian told Gabby to take a walk to cool off. She refused and broke into the car, started trying to scratch and slap him. He pushed her away and they both got in the vehicle, took off, and he found them and he pulled them over. He tells the person on the phone that they're going to charge Gabby with domestic assault. And he says he doesn't have a choice. And Brian is expected to go sign that waiver first thing in the morning, but that doesn't fix tonight. So they're trying to get this room for him. And he asked about Gabby being the aggressor, if they're able to put her up for the night. And he said, I figured I had to at least ask. So we know they said no. And another officer tells Brian that he needs to talk to him. And he says, because it's obvious an assault took place and he has injuries, he needs to take photos. And Brian kind of laughs and says they're baby injuries. And the cop said, I can either call EMS, but Brian said, well, you can just take the photos of the injuries. So they took, it was the female cop who was with Gabby walks up and asks for Gabby's phone during this time, by the way. And Brian goes and shows her where it is in the van. And while he's with the officer in the van, the two cops say Brian has a scratch on his ring finger also that they had noticed. So they take pictures of his face, his hands, his upper right arm. They made him pull it up. He had a place there, his chest and his neck. He also had a spot on his left arm, but Brian said that was a cut from a wire, and that did not come from this.
Okay, I will say they offered him a bottle of water, and he said, I don't drink out of plastic water bottles.
Yeah, I need that better too. Well, I got an Earth Child. You know that.
No, I know. Yeah.
So I'm familiar.
At first, I was like,
dude,
if I'm out in the middle of the desert and it's hot, I'm gonna break that rule at least once. I'm gonna get me some water. Because he asked if he could sit in the shade.
Yeah, because he said I'm bald.
Yeah, he said I'm bald. Do you mind if I sit in the shade over there? And they were like, no. So the female officer says Gabby is calling her parents to feel better and she doesn't want to be without Brian tonight. The officer says that she doesn't have a choice in the matter. And I can understand that. You're a female, you're by yourself, and you're going back to this camping area to be by yourself. I would be a little bit.
Yeah, no, we've had this discussion about me. She'd be in a tent though. Yeah, I wouldn't do tent.
No, she's sleeping in that van.
Oh.
That van had a bed in it. It's still a little creepy though.
I'm a ninja.
Yeah, you be the first one. You hear them wolves out there. You hear them coyotes. You'll be out. You'll be gone.
Dude, I put the pedal to the metal.
You'll be driving down the road to the hotel.
Heck yeah.
The officers are talking privately by the car. The cop says he has a swollen right eye and scratches. I think they say they need to go find the tape, maybe surveillance from the grocery store they were at. The cop tells Gabby to answer this question very carefully. When you slapped him, were you attempting to cause him physical pain or impairment? She says no, the reason was to get him to stop telling her to calm down.
I mean, I ain't gonna lie. I've been in a little tizzy like that before. And if that man had told me to calm down one more time, I might have caught a charge.
Hey, I think it'd be like on Steel Magnolias when they grab Sally Fields having that meltdown and
Clary?
No, she the one they said, hit Weezer.
Yeah.
She grabbed her. Slugger, Malin. Slugger. Yeah.
We could just sit here and quote movies for 10 minutes. I'm not mad. I've just been in a bad mood for 40 years.
40 years, yeah. So the officer says it doesn't sound to him like she intended to hurt him. She was still on the phone with her parents when she was asked this. So that's back to you. She admitted that she was striking him in the eye. Look at that movie quote. Yeah. Got you all discombobulated.
Yeah, so she admitted that she hit him in the face, and she said it. He said she was too, and that was what caused him to hit the curb. Meaning she was hitting him as he was driving in it, but then we hear that she jerked the steering wheel, so we don't know which one. That's where you're getting that difference of opinion.
Hey, he was speeding though. He was going double the speed limit.
It was like 45 and a 15.
Yeah.
Ka-chow.
Yeah.
The cop is validating why they shouldn't charge her. His reasoning is she's 100 pounds. He's bigger. Brian doesn't want to pursue it. They call the marks slight abrasions. And on one hand, he says it makes sense to go full on domestic assault, but he's letting the body cam officer decide. And the other option is not to charge her and just separate them for the night. And if they meet up, that's on Brian. That's his problem. And this must be a newer cop that was doing this, because the other cop said, you can't threaten to arrest them if we get a call back, because then if they're in a situation where they need help, they may not call because they're afraid they're going to get arrested. So he was just cautioning him about not trying to warn them, if you call, you're going downtown or wherever.
Yeah.
And the officer goes back to Gabby, and he tells her, we're not going to charge you with this for a domestic assault. And she gets very emotional. And he said it would have been a class B misdemeanor. And the terms of this, they're going to separate for the night. And he tells her to relax and breathe, and they need to just take some time tonight. And she was still crying. And he said, there's no reason for you to be crying. And he tells Gabby that Brian has a hotel room. And when the officer asks if she wants to say anything to him, she says to tell him to get his charger. And the officer says, do you want to tell him you love him? You'll miss him. And she says something to that effect. And so he goes and tells Brian that.
Yep. So the cop tells Brian she didn't have intent to hurt him, so that doesn't fit with domestic violence. He won't release them together, and he tells them to stay away from each other, and the cop says they both have the same story about what happened. The cop tells Brian what Gabby says. He tells her the same. Gabby cries when the officer is telling her he's leaving with Brian. Gabby cries and says she's not used to driving the van. She asks how far some place was. He also tells her she can find places to take a shower for $4 to $5.
Yeah, and then he goes into this, my wife has anxiety, this poor woman. And he's like, sometimes I just tell her, go take a shower and calm down.
In the car, Brian comments about him being able to listen to music. The cop says he can connect his own phone. The cop says Gabby reminds him of his wife in the shower, Brian says they've known each other since the start of high school, and he says they have been together for 3 years, I think.
I think that's what I heard. It was a little hard. And so they're just, at this point, they've kind of moved on from the incident, and they're talking about family that lives out there for the cop. And the cop did say that he and his wife drove a truck together for 5 years or so. And he made a joke about, she was good at making me sandwiches while I was driving. And dude, I'm telling you, he probably had divorce papers on the dinner table.
Oh yeah.
You could go. All of them.
She done
I
changed the locks. She done changed the locks where he got
Heck
home.
yeah.
Yeah.
So anyways, he just said that it is a very stressful situation when you are cooped up in that little tiny space for days and weeks and months. And so I really didn't overly analyze a lot of stuff with this. I really was just focused on getting what was the best parts of what was said for the episode. But it's hard to say about Brian. I mean, he's a little odd to me. He's really weird. That's suspicious.
Yeah.
That's weird. So anyways, but at the same time, Gabby was upset. Not as upset as what I had read she was. She had moments, but I know if I've been crying, it takes nothing to set me right back off 5 minutes later. It's traumatic. You got the cops. They brought like 5 cops.
Yeah.
You know, several everywhere. People are passing. It's stressful. You just had this. She thought for a hot minute she's going to get arrested. So I understand why she was emotional, but I didn't see the emotion that was said yesterday before we saw this, that she just couldn't formulate a sentence. I mean, she was able to formulate a sentence.
Yeah.
So I just don't know. You know, your hope is just that they had it out and she walked away. But then with that, she talked to her family all the time.
Yeah. My thing with that is, if that's what happened, why is he not saying anything?
Yeah, exactly. Hey, this is exactly, I can take you there and show you now the last place I saw her, alive and well. So him not saying anything, you know, I'm sure his lawyers have told him they've got to bring it to you. Don't give them anything. They're going to have to make you talk with evidence they find.
Yeah, and that's one of the reporters asked the question in the press conference. She said, "So what can you do? Like, he can just not talk to you?" Yeah. And the officer's like, the Constitution allows him to do that.
He has a Fifth Amendment right.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. People are like, "Oh, can't you arrest him for this or this or this?" Here's the thing. He would have a right to a fast trial. That's why you don't arrest anybody until you've got enough on them that you could take to trial.
Yeah.
You got to have a lot. Right now, they're just in the baby stages of gathering all this stuff and trying to put a piece here, a piece there, and start to get a picture.
Yeah.
It takes time, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But it worries me for her because if she's alive, you know, she's not contacting her family. Something's up. We're losing time here. It's been 2 weeks, not just Saturday. It's when she was reported missing. She hasn't been seen since August 25th. It's almost a month.
Yep. Here's the other thing I want to point out and say, if you have anybody, family, friends that you know have been in those areas, a lot of people go through their boondocking, which is just what they're doing. You're not hooked up to anything. You're just basically living off the land, so they don't have TV or anything. So if you know somebody's been through there, give them a shout out if you can reach them and say, "Hey, did you see anything?" or anything like that, because they may not know what's going on.
I even today went on Flickr and looked up pictures from that area, and you can specify dates. Remember with Yellowstone, we did that, and we're pretty sure we found a video of JJ running across that fountain, and you can see.
Yep.
And we did that on our own. We just saw it.
Yeah.
Sure enough, it's mentioned in the report. That's something they saw too.
Yeah.
So if you think you can't help, you know, they don't want you calling them and giving them advice. But, you know, the thing is, if you see something like that, that's questionable, you know, email the FBI, call the FBI. There was a post of a girl laying on a rock today, and it's in this area, and it looked like the same pants and the same jacket kind of that she had, and she had a bag. It was like she was sleeping on her side. I'll tweet it out and Facebook it. But I mean, things like that look similar.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure they would be appreciative to look at it.
Yeah, it could break the case.
For sure. It's not always investigators who work very hard, but sometimes, I mean, there's a whole documentary dedicated to it, where people, podcasters, internet sleuths have cracked cases.
Yep.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So anyways, that's all we have for tonight. It's been crazy. Maybe tomorrow we'll hear a little more about this. Maybe there'll be a happy update. That's what my fingers are crossed for. Silence is suspicious though. I understand get a lawyer. But when you get a lawyer and you use that lawyer to say, we're going to stay in the background and we're not going to cooperate and we're not going to talk to you, you can't help but think something really bad's happened and he knows what it is.
Yep.
They know what it is at home. You know, if that's your son, when those doors close and it's just you can't tell me they haven't said, where is she?
Yep.
Whether or not he said, I don't know. But let's just keep our hopes up and our fingers crossed. You know, no sign of life, no sign of death is probably as good as we're going to get in this case right now until we get more answers.
Yep.
So we will be on it for you guys. We appreciate you so much. And just follow us on social media during the day. We're always on there popping and hopping and doing all this. And yeah, I'm tired. Can y'all tell I'm tired? I'm going to bed soon, y'all.
Yeah. And we give a shout out to we done had to hire somebody. We had to hire our friend Brianne to do our graphics.
She's been killing it, y'all.
See?
All these pretty graphics that you see, she's been doing for us, and it just adds so much.
Yeah.
It adds so much to our social media.
Yep. She's doing good.
It's getting cool.
I know, right?
Yeah. All right,
She's
guys.
making us look good.
We will not be able to do one tomorrow or Saturday, so I'm thinking Sunday. So the next few days, I'll be getting things ready. If something super duper crazy happens, we might be able to arrange like a 10-minute thing, but that's only in an extreme case. I've got to do laundry. Like my kids are going to have to start wearing like 4 t-shirts again if I don't.
Yeah. You're in trouble.
It's bad around here, y'all. I don't like my house to be dirty and it's headed there.
Oh, man.
Got stuff to do tomorrow. So you guys have a good evening. We will see you most likely Sunday. And have a good evening, sleep, weekend, all that stuff.
Yep. Have a good weekend.
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Okay, round 2. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Sorry, we were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right. ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.